Gotta go pilot, watch it take flight. Guiding through the cold day and night. Crafting dreams from bits and bytes. Microsoft magic, it's out of sight. Gotta go pilot, watch it take flight. Guiding through the cold day and night. Crafting dreams from bits and bytes. Microsoft magic, it's out of sight. Gotta go pilot, watch it take flight. Guiding through the cold day and night. Crafting dreams from bits and bytes. Microsoft magic, it's out of sight. Teamwork out loud. Shall we ring it out loud? Teamwork out loud. We can all proud.
Carter Wilkins here. Another cap for Copilot, Copilot Adoption Practices. Call it office hours, call it hanging out with me, geeking out on Copilot and all things AI. Glad you could be here today. Happy Thursday. Whether you're joining live or on demand on LinkedIn or YouTube, glad to have you. If you are live, don't forget the comment section where you can put any comments you may have, and I will monitor those as best I can. Yeah, so cool. Let me click a couple things here and we'll get going. All right. So yeah, we're here another weekly session here. Again, we're just going to talk about things, but I did have a topic that I had put out on LinkedIn a little earlier this week. I thought today's topic might be computer vision with Copilot, and kind of talking about how, Copilot and AI in general can see things, and we can use that in our, as we're using it with our prompts and things like that. I did happen to actually give a talk on this earlier this week, so that's why it's fresh in my mind and thought I might talk about it today. In fact, let me switch over here. I did have some slides that I used earlier this week. And one of the things, kind of a funny story that made me even think about doing this, if I kind of take us back to the Wilkins home, where me and my wife we play Rummikub pretty much daily, at least one round a day. I haven't beat her in this game since like March. I don't know how that's possible. Statistically, you would just think I would just luck up and win at some point. She's just just undefeated. She's like 40-2. I mean, I have won a couple of times in the last few months, but she's on a streak. And so one day in one of my many defeats, I was just thinking about my shame. And then I was like, well, I wonder if Copilot can help me figure out what am I doing wrong? So on that particular game, so yes, I had that bright idea. Could Copilot help me? And so I pulled out my phone and I started taking some pictures because I knew, I knew I needed to kind of get the information in the Copilot. And so I pulled out my phone. I started taking pictures. I took a picture of the hand. So if you don't know Rummikub, it's essentially these colored numbers tiles that can be placed on a board in certain sequences. And you want to, have all of your tiles gone. The first one to get all their tiles gone and on the board wins. This was my hand. This is the tiles I had left. This was the board that was there, right, while we were playing. So I took a picture of both. And essentially I asked Copilot, what can I do here? Is there a hand I can play, right? So now Copilot knows both of these things. I think I may have described that, this one is my hand, this one is the board. And so we started having a conversation about it. So Copilot could see from me uploading that first picture. So there's my hand, and it knew which tiles I had. And I kind of told it ahead of time, I was going to give you my hand, and I'm going to give you the game board. So then it asked me for the second image. So I gave it that, and it could tell what groupings and what runs, or basically sequence of tiles, were on the board. So it's just kind of confirming that it can see everything. And then it started to give me some tips. It talked about some other things and rearrangement options, but ultimately it said my best move was to take my red 7 and add it to one of the runs that was on the board. So the only problem with this is I don't have a way of secretly pulling my phone out during the game and and asking Copilot to do this for me in order to win. This was kind of after the fact, just a theoretical exercise. But the point here is it could see it. It knew I didn't have to explain the game of Rummikub. I mean, I did tell it that's what I was playing, but it knew the rules. It's got access to the web. So it knew the rules. It could see the board, my hand, and it started, trying to coach me, essentially. So I could have asked it any number of questions, but I was essentially trying to see, is there a move I could make in it? And it had one for me. So again, that was after the fact, didn't help with I still lost that game. So, but it did prove that Copilot could see. And so that's kind of where I started getting interested in all the scenarios of what I could do with an AI tool that can see things if I can give it the picture, and let it, have at it. And so, when we think about images with Copilot and AI, a lot of times we think about like this recent Ghibli trend of, taking images and turning them into something else. And Copilot is using, or AI in general, it is using vision to do that. It's got to see the picture. Like in this case, I gave it the picture of me and got all these different variations. So it could see all those aspects in order to do what it needs to do. But that's not really what I'm talking here about, about computer vision. This isn't really what I'm talking about, and even with this, ability of like manipulating images, your results may vary. Copilot kind of, really from a responsible AI perspective does not like to, do things with faces. It'll even talk about, I'm going to blur the faces here, and so you can see not an exact duplicate is created versus, use some other tools and you might get different results. And then of course, there's times when, it really goes bad. This meme you may have seen on online where someone's asking it to not do anything to the image, just give it back. And after 50 times, it just gives it some crazy thing. But so it can go wrong. And then when you talk about computer vision, there's even other aspects of it again that are unrelated to kind of what I'm talking about. So if you got a Copilot PC, there are different things that the Copilot PC can see on your screen to help you out contextually, and you know, being able to click on something and it knows what you're looking at or what you've clicked on, and then give you the relevant options for that thing. So it's context aware. And then there's even in Edge, there's actually Copilot Vision that can see the page, and you can have talk about it. It's not doing anything on that page for you, but it can certainly see it and work with you on it. So all those things are related to vision, but I was thinking more about use cases where I'm kind of giving it images of like my real world. So for example, even in my personal world, a lot of times I'll take an image of, I try to eat healthy when I can. And so sometimes when I'm trying to figure out what is healthy, I'll take a picture of the nutrition label of something. Now I don't have to tell it what this drink is. I don't have to say, hey, I've just given you a nutrition label. All I said here was, does this have a lot of sugar? Copilot can read all of that and understand, and I'm sure it already knows that's a nutrition label. And so that's what it ended up saying is, it said, yeah, this has a high amount of sugar. It went on to give me some details, but it could read that from the label there. And so I could continue to have what are my alternative drinks and blah, blah, blah. I could, have all those kind of conversations. You can see here that message about analyzing the image. Faces may be blurred to protect privacy. So again, that's what I was talking about with Copilot and responsible AI. Trying to help with that from that privacy perspective. So they're not real big on kind of doing the things with people's faces. Didn't happen to be a face in this one, in this particular example. Another picture I took was the whiteboard where we put, grocery lists written out in handwriting. And so, taking a quick picture of that, and then, Copilot can see it and get all of those items and put them into text. Now, this has got a lot of interesting value. One is, maybe maybe my wife's out shopping at the moment. Hey, what's on the grocery list? I could go look at this and type this out myself, or take a quick picture and let Copilot write it out. Now I copy and paste that into a text message. Maybe that's a scenario there. Or in this case of what I did, now that I've got that list, what's probably going to be the cost when I go to the grocery store, these items, give me all the costs added up. And, again, I could have gone from this picture to a cost just by giving it a picture and saying, how much does all of this cost? And that's natural language. When I say this, Copilot will know I mean the image. It knows, it can tell that this is an image of a grocery list. In fact, you'll notice the list of words here does not include the word groceries. It didn't just blindly spit out all the words to kind of prove that it could see them. It knew that this was a list of groceries. Groceries, the word groceries is just the label, not relevant to what we're talking about, just like a normal, person would that was trying to assist you. So I could have just given it this picture and just simply said, how much is this going to cost? And I think, and it would have given me it would have done this math and given me a number. So that, again, that's the same thing. Like if some assistant is walking by me in the house and, is ready to just waiting for, to give me some help. That's the same kind of thing that they might do. Right. So that could be super helpful. So that could save a lot of time. I don't have to list out each item for Copilot. I don't have to give it prices. I just tell it what I need and give it something to work with. In this case, this image, and let it have at it. So I do those kind of things in my personal workings, because you got Copilot on your mobile phone. And so you're just a few clicks away from that. Another idea was, I'm on a board for a nonprofit, and we're working on a membership process that I had started to kind of diagram out. Well, I gave this picture. It really wasn't great, and really wasn't even complete. I gave the picture though to Copilot. it could tell, I kind of asked it, what do you see? It could tell it was a membership process. Oh, well, that's kind of easy. It's labeled there, but it could, was telling me who the different roles were, things like that. And then it started to summarize it. What I had drawn out in arrows and things, it was start to write out in, in numbered words and things. And so that was summarizing the process. Now, where it gets interesting is I then asked it for improvements on the process. So I know that you have seen the diagram. You clearly understand what's going on because you've given it back to me. Now that you know all of this, now I need your AI brain to help me here. What's missing? What could be improved? And so it did give me suggestions, maybe, do some, move this process from here to there, digitize one of the blah, blah, blahs, all of those kind of things. So that's the other benefit is just giving Copilot something to work with. And then you can start reasoning over it and iterating over it. Ultimately, and this slide is behind here, but what I also asked it to create was a mermaid file. So if I think I may have talked about this in a previous session here, but that's like a markup language for diagramming. And in fact, if you use Microsoft Loop, you can easily put, as I did here, the markup language that Copilot creates, and it'll create a visual. Kind of cool. I don't know if I would use this one, but it's cool that it could be done. And again, all of that came from me uploading a screenshot of that process. And that could have been a handwritten, process. I mean, in fact, I think I have one here that I just found online. So it's like a mind map, but, handwritten, gave it to Copilot, kind of what do you see? It knew it was a mind map. It actually knew it was apparently about professional kennel or dog sitters. Now, it would take me a minute to actually figure that out. I mean, just as a human, right, looking at this. Typically in mind maps, the main point is in the center, so not too hard. But I mean, a lot of times mind maps have the main point. The circle looks a little different or is a little bolder or a different color. So I thought it was pretty impressive that Copilot figured out this was the main piece to all of this. So it knew what it was. It tried to say, hey, can I give it to you digitally in another way? It tried it out. I don't necessarily like that, but it tried. I could have maybe come up with something else. And it was going to give me an Excel file with the steps in it, all that good stuff. So again, the cool thing is that, this is a lot, like even for a human. I mean, give this to a high school student and they might have some trouble, figuring out what's going on here. Copilot did not have any trouble. It seemed to understand what was happening here. In fact, the part I thought was cool, I asked it, what are the credibility factors to consider when evaluating a kennel? It said awards, licensed, and accredited. Now, it got it from here. You notice that word credibility, handwritten and vertical, is still able to read it. And it also had to kind of understand that its credibility is nearby this dashed line. So probably these three, bubbles are related to credibility. So I thought that was pretty impressive too. That not only can you see, but you can make some very practical, logical assumptions about what you see that might be hard even for a human to have figured out. So so imagine you get a mind map from a colleague or something, and at first glance it does not look you don't understand it. Maybe give it to Copilot and say, hey, write this out in bullet points instead of a mind map, or explain this to me. What parts of this mind map should I be focused on, or whatever question you're trying to get to. So that was pretty interesting. I really liked that part. Yeah. So again, that was a particular session I just did earlier this week. Thought I'd share that. So again, there's lots of cool ways to use that vision concept. Those are just some that hopefully just gives you spark some ideas in your head about what you could do. But again, the key is to just know Copilot can read, Copilot can understand and reason, and it can see. So just trying to get you some ideas there. Let me see here. I think I see some chat. Okay, good. Yeah. So I appreciate you, Johnny. I see you there with the good stuff. So, yep. Yeah. And depending on what you use, like depending on the flavor of Copilot that you use, it may be different. There was a while, for instance, where only the consumer Copilot could do, do images. Now, if you are a licensed M365 Copilot user, you can do images as well. So it took a minute for both of them to start to do it, but now you can. So shouldn't have too many challenges there, other than if you're on the free flavors, you may have limits in terms of the size of the file you can upload, or even the amount of files you could upload and things like that. Free version is going to have some throttling and some limits that the paid license won't have, or will have much more ability to do more there. So just something to consider there. But yeah, it's all about just sparking your creativity, and just understanding that. I'll keep you posted to let you know if any of this has improved my chances and my ability to win Rummikub against my wife. Like I said, I haven't won since March, and she's not even letting up. Like, she just has no mercy. She's very competitive. It's fine. It's fine. Anyway, I'll keep you posted on that. All right, good stuff. So hope you like that. And again, we'll be here weekly. aka.ms / cap4copilot is where you can find the recordings on demand, YouTube, LinkedIn, all that good stuff. All right. So glad to see you here. Hope you have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time. All right.